I admit I did not think Vampire Coast was going to be that good in Immortal Empires and Domination, but some changes made to Undead in general have made them quite strong, and of course, some other kind of general changes to a number of things have made them quite good in general. Today, I'm going to be taking them against Rider of Rohan's High Elves, so we're in for a treat today. We've got Noctilus, myself, front line of deckhands with second line of bombers. We got two depth guards, one Bloody Reaver and one dual hand weapon, some animated hulks protecting the flanks. Pretty much it for my starting army for Rider of Rohan's, of course. He's got Tyrion on horseback, a great eagle up in the air, a caster with just Dwellers Below and Earthblood. Dwellers, of course, going to be a great spell. Makes the High Elves quite good, actually, in Domination right now. Spearmen, White Lions, and some archers as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Both of us kind of gone for a similar idea with our starting armies, just ranged, backed up by some infantry. And let's see how it shakes out with the reserves. For my Undead Pirate Horde, I've got 3 Sirens, the Black Spot Zombie Handgun ROR that's got bayonets, anti-large AP, and charge defense. We've got the Salt Lord Scuttlers ROR Bomber Bats as well, some Scurvy Dogs, Animated Hulks, couple of Pole Arms, Bell Bats, and 3 Zombie Pistols. Now with Vanguard. For the High Elves, Rider of Rohan coming in with some Pyramid Company, 2 Silverin Guard, 4 Lothern Sea Guard with shields, 4 Reavers, and 2 more Spearmen. And already I am bringing in those reserve of pistols. I can't believe, honestly, that they gave the... Well, I can believe it, but it's kind of crazy. They probably should get like a plus 25, plus 50 cost increase for getting Vanguard, these zombie pistol mobs that are coming out here. But anyway, so general changes, of course, the changes to Undead leadership, I think pretty much all Undead got a leadership buff, and they did not do anything to the actual crumbling damage. So what that means is it's tough to kill Undead, and tougher than ever before, because with Ultra unit scale especially, now crumbling feels, weaker than ever before. And these bombers also were subject to a specific change. Explosion damage, of course, got buffed, and the bombers' damage wasn't really adjusted. I mean, it was definitely very strong at points in Warhammer 2. It was less strong later on in Warhammer 2. Still quite good, but the damage I don't think was changed at all, and it is absolutely brutally spectacular as it tanks my frame rates there. I mean, one volley from a bomber onto a High Elf Spearman basically pays for themselves, right? So they are going to be exceptionally cost-effective, especially in Domination, where you're going to be guaranteeing to get up-close fights. The burst damage is incredible, but Tyrion does punch through into the back line. He's going to go after Noctilus here. I'm going to try and counteract with some hulks here and run to the protection of the Bloody Reaver Depth Guard. But instead, Tyrion and the Eagle swoop down to try and take out the Gunner. The Archer's also focusing on the Bombers, rather, which is great. You can see the mass volley there just shredding a unit immediately. Rider of Rohan even admitted to me in chat that at the beginning of the battle, in the first, 30 seconds or so, he was a little bit sloppy with his targeting. Should have been targeting bombers immediately as soon as the battle started, which is definitely true. But let's see if he pays the price here. Bats and dogs. Bats and dogs and bats and dogs. And bats and dogs going to be going after these spearmen here with some Valyrian Reavers. Countercharging in to help support. Elves should be able to prevail there, but we've also got the Depth Guard that can swing over on the high ground objective. Scurvy Dogs don't have the same capture rate they did before. I think their capture rate got nerfed down to, like, monster capture rate rather than infantry, or at the very least it's cavalry, but still enough to capture that objective unopposed. Gonna get some summons here, and a little bit of Sunfang as well from Tyrion. Absolutely side through these bombers. Again, the bombers are relatively cheap, so value-wise it's not that great, but tactically you do need to kill them. And the spearmen are just continuing to pay the price. Silverin Guard will hold up a little bit better. The armor does help against the bombs, but oh man, the archers too, getting absolutely exploded by hand grenades there. So yeah, between the crumbling change and the changes to explosion damage, not to mention, of course, bugs. Haven't really talked too much about it, but there's a significant bug with, like, Queen Bess and other Undead artillery where they will get infinite ammo from abilities and spells which resurrect unit models. If they have full unit models, it's a little bit of a weird interaction, but you do see it pretty consistently with, like, Queen Bess and the catapults of Tomb Kings especially. But here I'm not going to be abusing it too much because I haven't actually taken any artillery. We're just going for a coast melee build primarily. I would consider the bombers sort of a melee range unit because their range is so short, but makes them great for domination. The depth guard also, with their hunger and their high armor, actually can shine fairly well in domination, but oh man, Rider of Rohan sets up a nasty Dwellers Below, and I just walk straight into it with my Bloody Reaver depth guard, and look at the damage, man. Absolutely unbelievable. Truly spectacular. I mean, it kind of makes sense, actually. I mean, not that Dwellers should be this strong. I definitely think the single target damage in particular needs to be nerfed. Some people disagree, but y'all are just no. Yeah, that's a little bit ridiculous there. But, I mean, it does kind of make sense that a Lure of Life spell would just absolutely tear the dead to shreds, in particular. But anyway, we're going to walk in now with some Sirens. Since that's on cooldown, I can pretty much guarantee they're going to fight just fine in that combat. Tyrion also doesn't add magic attacks like he probably should. A little bit of shades there in the back as well from Noctilus, just to deal some additional damage on those infantry. Make sure we break up those melee infantry as much as possible. And at this point, I'm pretty much playing the objective. I mean, value trade-wise, that Dwellers actually set Rider of Rohan pretty far ahead in terms of army damage value, simply because he killed, I mean, a lot of high-value targets all in one go there. But in terms of battlefield control, I'm still pretty comfortable with where I'm at. We've got some handgun mobs defending this top objective. Reavers will charge in. They'll take some damage on the approach, obviously, lacking any kind of shields. They'll get into combat, and they'll do okay, but certainly the zombies will be able to hold up long enough for me to reinforce with some scurvy dogs. We'll get some bats swooping in as well. So taking a look at the far side here, the depth guard and animated hooks just holding this location, mostly unopposed. And at this point, a full triple cap. I mean, despite the value lead, it's going to be tricky for Rider of Rohan to amass his value on the objective, especially since a lot of his damage is coming on low model count targets rather than, units with a lot of capture weight. Likewise, these archers also kind of have a hard time getting to the objective and fighting. One reason why Lothar and Seaguard are actually pretty decent, because they can, come stand on the objective, defend it with their spears to a degree, and with their bows as well. But we'll see. Definitely plenty of game time left. That's the great thing about new long dom, is that you can have plenty of time to make counterplays and try and get yourself back in the game, certainly. These deckhands definitely ended up paying the price there, but the Reavers also end up getting routed away by my own mobile reinforcements. So some nice kind of hammer and anvil undead tactics there. Noctilus does get torn to shreds eventually. Tyrion and the murder bird here, nice eagle, which I actually quite like the pickup in domination. Reasonably decent target to come in and kind of snipe high value targets like crabs and Crab Gunnery Whites, and obviously Noctilus here. Certainly 1v1 he would beat the Eagle no problem, but in combination with Tyrion especially, they get very scary for him to have to deal with, so that's decent. Perhaps Rider Rohan can make a little push up here in the center, start to capture this objective. He's got some actual spearmen coming out now, along with the Reavers, so maybe he'll be able to get this objective captain. I don't know why exactly, but I have frame rate problems in particular on domination. I really don't in land battles nearly as much. I'll try and get that figured out, guys. I apologize for the quality today. I'm noticing some hitches on the game itself, which means I can't imagine what the recording. Hopefully it's not a complete slideshow, but anyway, the Sirens kind of taking down Tyrion's melee attack, getting a nice little surround with their armor-piercing damage. They'll be able to chip him down a little bit over time, and nothing too spectacular there. They're not going to, burst him super fast, but still, out in the distance, dual hand weapon depth guard just shredding some spearmen to try and come out. White Lions should trade a little bit better, but even still, I mean, 80 armor is certainly enough to resist quite a bit of the damage. Pure Maiden Company, actually, 90 armor. I forget. I think they used to be 80, but perhaps were buffed at some point. Or maybe they were always 90 and I'm just crazy. Who knows? Regardless, I'm going to try and maneuver away. 36 speed there against 33 speed. I should be able to just get back on this objective, help with, get the animated hooks to come help, maybe the Sirens as well. Although, I have to be careful, again, blobbing up all these relatively low model count, 60 model count infantry, 16 monstrous infantry. I'm going to open myself up to potentially to another absolutely disgusting Dwellers Below, but let's see. Yeah, it looks like it doesn't actually hit the Sirens. The Sirens are still fighting Tyrion, but it is going to hit another unit of Sirens and lots of animated hulks and the depth guard as well. So yeah, very, very brutal engagement for me. The Pure Main Company do take some damage as well, don't get me wrong, but it ends up being horribly cost inefficient as I just lose out on, 1,800, 2,000 value potentially worth of stuff. especially considering all of these units are now going to crumble away. The depth guard, at least, if they continue to fight in melee, will be getting that hunger regeneration to kind of help stave off a little bit of that. Maybe they can stabilize their leadership, but we'll see. Anyway, zombie pirate gunnery mob moving in as well. Pistols just kind of put the nail in the coffin, no pun intended. Up on the high ground, this unit of spearmen is just being continuously harassed by bats and dogs and pistol mobs. There we go. I think that's the name of my new album, actually. Anyway, featuring DJ Kotep on track 3, of course. Over here, these spearmen just continuing to defend. They actually are doing a decent job capturing here, and I mean, these sirens are down quite a few models. I don't know if they'll actually be able to outweigh these spearmen here. They'll certainly be wet noodling them for quite some time, so there's some potential for Ryder Rohan to get back in this game, but it's definitely feeling pretty bad for him, I'd imagine. Oh, looks like he is going to have one more Dwellers here, try and finish off these sirens, get a little bit of this zombie deckhand as well. They're not fully within the vortex, they're not taking the max amount of damage, but even just the damage over time should tear them apart pretty effectively there. More sirens and hulks coming in from me, though I will say these like mid-tier kind of melee units, they're having 40 plus speed. You know, I guess depth guard aren't quite there, but sort of the mid to elite tier melee units for Vampire Coast having a little bit faster speed than your typical infantry, and certainly faster speed than zombies, makes them really ideal reinforcements in Domination. And yeah, I mean, at this late stage, there is a potential for Tyrion's forces to actually 3-cap here. Tyrion himself has managed to chat out the entire game. Lord of Lifecaster also still alive here. Some Reavers are going to come try and reinforce this point. Looks like he's going to be able to grab that center objective at the very least. This objective over here on the side as well. The Pure Main Company come over to fight. Sirens, though, healthy Sirens. Plenty of capture weight, just not taking any damage at all until Sunfang comes along. That's going to be absolutely disgusting. Let's see the damage. Long wind-up time. Maybe could have dodged that, but it actually doesn't do as much as I thought it was going to. Especially with the animated hulks now reinforcing. I should be able to hold on to this objective long enough. He has staunched the bleeding by capturing the center objective. And the Illyrian Reavers, if they had even just a little bit longer, perhaps they could capture this objective. But at this point, I am closing in on victory. He would need to get both of these objectives from me very quickly. And the one on this side, I mean, the Sirens and the Hulks are just not taking the damage you would expect. Reavers, maybe had they popped in a little rear charge here, could have maybe broken the Hulk's leadership, perhaps. But right now, just kind of standing on the objective, offering some capture weight here in the center as well. I'm threatening with some bombers. Guns, these bombers should be able to take care of those Silverin Guards, no problem. So even if I were to lose these two objectives, which it looks like I potentially might, should be able to recapture the center in time. I mean, even if Ryder Rohan got a 3-cap here, he would have to hold it for a good, 10 minutes almost. So it would be pretty difficult, all things considered. Ends up being pretty close in terms of army value damage because of the Dwellers, but just because of capture weight and because undead units, while they're crumbling, will continue to capture. And I think that's one of the critical things that I really haven't mentioned about crumbling in Domination, and the fact that, demons tend to not do as well in Domination because their demonic instability actually does a lot of damage, right? And it means that if their leadership breaks, they're likely just to disappear relatively quickly. Very much not the case with undead units because of their massive HP pools and the low damage of crumbling. They just stick around, and especially with vampire counts, because of their passive healing, you can sustain through crumbling easily through passive healing sources. One reason why vampire counts are so broken in Domination. Today was about Coast, and again, Coast, I think their melee power, relatively speaking, is fine. I do think Hulks are maybe too cheap, maybe should go up to like 600, 650, not really sure there. Bombers also could maybe do with a plus 50, plus 75 cost increase as well. But definitely increasing crumbling damage should be a priority for all undead factions. Just because, I mean, you look right now, and in my mind, Tomb Kings, Vampire Coast, and Undead are all either top tier or close to top tier in Domination. They're all very strong in land battles as well, so I don't know. I think, I mean, obviously on top of fixing the obvious bugs like the infinite ammo bug, I do think that crumbling needs to be addressed because all undead factions feel a little bit too strong right now. But I've been harping about crumbling for literal years now, and they haven't changed it, so don't have a lot of hope left. But once in a while, I just like to bring up the topic to highlight exactly how strong of a mechanic it actually is. So in terms of the army breakdown here, Noctilus doesn't actually get that much value. The summons, though, are pretty nice. Depth Guard, I mean, the one that doesn't get murdered immediately by dwellers does manage to pay for itself. The bombers are really where build starts to shine, especially one of them doubling up on value relatively easily. I mean, the other ones get close to paying for themselves, and that's the thing. They're so cheap, even if you do take 4, a couple of them don't pay for themselves. The other ones are likely to, just by volume. Sirens are also awesome in Domination. Scurvy Dogs did a great job here chasing routing units and breaking up light cavalry attacks as well, along with the bats. Bats and dogs are just a great combination to have together against light cavalry, especially. Animated Hulk's also quite cost-effective. Zombie pistols, again, Vanguard, probably too much for them. Could do with like a plus 50 cost increase to help compensate for that, but it does make them very, very strong in Domination. Again, as a support unit, High Elves, their characters both, Tyrion and the Life-Death Mage, do quite well. The Eagle also just about pays for itself, so again, I kind of like the pick of the Eagle, honestly, even though it doesn't have that much capture weight. Arguably, it'd be better to just have more units with more capture weight, but hard to say. The Archers also get some good value back, but the lack of capture contribution is a little bit of a problem. I don't know. Lothern Seaguard, you know, I think about it again, the spears to help defend. Besides Hulks, most of what Coast is going to bring is actually infantry size. Like, even bats and dogs are technically infantry size. So maybe archers with light armor would be better. They do have higher melee defense and armor and can help defend against, you know, zombies and bats and dogs a little bit better than maybe even Lothern Seaguard. I'd have to actually look at their stats. Maybe we'll check that just now. The Seaguards he didn't end up being used here at all. And the Silverin Guards, I mean, Silverin Guards are a decent choice. Reavers definitely can be very cost-effective, and you definitely want them in Domination, but it's an interesting one. You know, zombie halberds do mean that taking something like Silver Helms is generally pretty cost-inefficient here, so I like pretty much all of this build. I don't know if I would change much, except maybe the execution right at the start to you know, focus those bombers immediately, and I think Rider of Rohan himself would admit as much. But let's just take a look here, kind of finish up and think about Lothern Seaguard. I mean, one thing, Lothern Seaguard can take shields, obviously, which does give you an advantage against ranged units, but the cost is significantly more. You have to think about, you know, volume versus safety, and in terms of ranged units here. So archers with light armor gain plus 4 melee defense and 25 armor, so I guess it's not that much more. With martial prowess, they do go up to 30 melee defense, which is okay. It's not anything too crazy, but with the extra armor, I don't know. I don't know if that ends up being worth it, or if you just go max archers. Lothern Seaguard do have even more melee defense, so maybe that makes them a worthwhile upgrade, purely just due to the extra melee defense. 40 armor as well. Yeah, a little bit lesser range, but a little bit lesser ammunition as well. But then you also get charge reflection. Not that that matters a lot against Vampire Coast units. It's not really going to help them survive, you know, Depth Guard, for example. So, yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below in this matchup, or with your general experience fighting Coast. Definitely quite a strong faction, and not something I expected. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.